Boy, did we ever time this perfectly, booking the former ambassador to China, Gary Locke, of course, our former Commerce Secretary as well, Governor of the beautiful state of Washington. He joins us right now out of Seattle. Ambassador, very good to have you. Thank you for taking the time.
Good to be with you, Neil.
So many things I want to bounce off of you because I don't know what it means. But one thing, Ambassador, is that the Chinese, for the first time, and these are some wire services quoting unnamed government officials, but they seem to be saying the same to a variety of news sources, that whatever you want, United States, you're not going to get. I mean, or at least as much as you want. And talking about no arbitrary outcomes for the talks, won't yield to U.S. trade threats. Now, we've got a 30-day extension on some of these tariffs, but how big is this getting? What do you think they're telling us?
Well, obviously, they're taking a hard line, and maybe it's for negotiation purposes. We've got a great delegation going from Secretary of Treasury to the trade representative to the President's economic advisor and Secretary of Commerce, basically the A-team. We're all involved in these trade policies for the administration. Clearly, America has very strong issues with some of the trade and economic policies of China. China has recently made some statements about opening up more sectors that are now closed to foreign investment to American companies. They will not have to partner up with a local company, because one of our big concerns is that when they are required to partner with a Chinese company, you have to share that technology with a Chinese company, and eventually that Chinese company will not need to be with the United States.
Well, have they already committed to that? Have they already committed to that, Ambassador, or is that a goal?
Well, they've made a lot of statements, and they're beginning to open up some of these sectors. Yeah. But we need to press them still, because they have not given us firm deadlines or timetables by which they will open up these sectors. We've heard these promises before, and it's been very, very slow. So, yes, we need to make sure that we keep pressing. We also have, of course, the trade deficit. The Chinese have basically said they're not going to be forced into a specific number. I was just in China a few days ago, met with some of the top Chinese leaders, and they said, well, you know, we're willing to reduce the trade deficit, but, you know, we try to buy things from America, and you keep saying that's off limits. For instance, they want replacement parts for old Black Hawk helicopters. And because of an act of Congress, we're not able to sell the materials.
Well, to be fair, this administration
use.
says, they could be much more active to support our auto industry and the like. I don't know what the real truth is, but Ambassador, do you get a sense from the Chinese that they're going to wait Donald Trump out? I mean, Xi Jinping now is essentially going to be ruling there for life. And he looks at our maybe president as a process where he serves another couple of years, maybe 4 years after that if he wins. But they're much more longer-term strategic thinkers. They've got this plan for 2025 when they're going to, I guess, rule the economic world or whatever. So they don't see a reason to rush. They don't see a reason to kowtow.
Well, they're going to make some concessions, and they'll probably open up the automobile sector more. They'll probably reduce or eliminate some of the tariffs on U.S. automobiles going to China. But we've got to be very practical about it. So many of the U.S. automakers now make their cars in China. Right. So removing the tariffs on U.S.-made automobiles going to China is not going to make that much difference with respect to the trade deficit. Yeah, maybe the Chinese will buy 5 or 10 or 20,000 more automobiles per year, maybe some big trucks or something like that, but that's not really going to erase the trade deficit. Now, on this Made in 2025, China 2025, I think we ought to be concerned about it, because they want to have 70% of a lot of the major components in key sectors made in China, so they don't have to buy American products.
Or anyone else's.
How they do
or
that.
anyone else's.
Or anybody else's, right?
Yeah.
They want to be more self-reliant in high technology goods. We need to be concerned that they don't unfairly subsidize their own companies with improper government subsidies that would violate world trade rules.
Well, do you see this potentially?
So.
I'm sorry, sir. Do you see this getting potentially off the rails? That it could easily accelerate, that the Chinese could decide, you know, we own $1 trillion worth of American debt. At the very least, we'll stop buying it. They have curtailed purchases over the recent few auctions we've had. And you could make an argument that they would roll the dice on that. At face value, I would think that would harm them. But what do you make of that, that this could easily escalate?
Well, it could easily escalate, and that's why I've always had concerns about using tariffs as a vehicle or as a strategy by which we address some of these concerns. I've always felt that, for instance, on the limited Chinese the limitations on U.S. investment in China, we ought to reciprocate. We ought to say that they can't invest in the United States because there are so many sectors of the Chinese economy that are closed, off limits to U.S. investment, but virtually no limitations on Chinese investment in the United States. That's not fair. For instance, cloud computing. Amazon and Microsoft and others have to partner with a Chinese company to get into cloud services in China. Alibaba does not. Oil and gas, financial services sector, the list goes on and on. And one of the problems with this Made in China 2025 problem is that they want to be dominant in a lot of these key technology sectors. The recent action by the United States to ban ZTE, one of their big telephone makers, telecommunications providers, from buying Qualcomm chips or Corning Gorilla Glass, only gives more incentive to the Chinese to be self-reliant, to not have to be at the mercy of U.S. or foreign technology makers of various components. So this is going to be a really tough issue, a very, very tough issue.
We might bend and give them a little more leeway because of their help on North Korea, right?
Well, obviously, you know, we partner with them on certain issues, and we are strong competitors in another area. But we need to make sure that United States companies are on a level playing field with China, and that China plays fairly according to international rules. And so we've got to be willing to take some hard measures and hard stances against China.
All right, we'll see what happens. Ambassador Gary Locke, good seeing you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.